Good morning, everybody. Everybody here with us today. My name is Brian Cancian. I am the Business Development Manager here at Foundation Software. We're going to get started in just a few minutes, but there are still quite a few people trickling in. So I myself am going to disappear. Welcome our panelists here to disappear for a couple minutes as well while we're just waiting, and we'll be back with you in just about 2 or 3 minutes. All right. Good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Brian Cancian. I'm the Business Development Manager here at Foundation Software. I want to thank you all for joining us today and sitting in on another educational webinar. Today we have Sarah Sherlock with Followup CRM, as well as Kelly Coryell and Mark Fleming from Coryell Roofing. I want to give a shout out to our webinar and marketing team as well for putting this together. A lot of work goes on behind the scenes. So Kara and Jen and Sarah, not Sarah Sherlock, but Sarah here at Foundation. I want to thank you guys for your efforts in putting this together. Again, my name is Brian Cancian, Business Development Manager. A few housekeeping items as you're looking through your GoToWebinar screen. If you haven't been with us before, along the top, in the toolbar, there is a little icon, little box with a question mark in it. That is where we will field questions. Feel free to type questions in as we go along. We will postpone those answerings to the end of the webinar. There will be a Q&A session in the last 10 to 15 minutes, but please feel free to type those questions in as they come up so that they're fresh in your mind. You all are muted, so that there won't be any live interaction between the panelists and you all attending. And there will be a recording link sent out to all registered attendees within probably the next 24 hours or so after the end of the event, once everything gets formatted and we can get that out to our channels. So I think that's about it. I don't think I'm missing anything. So again, please feel free to type those questions in that box. And without further ado, I'm going to kick this off and let Sarah take over. And hope you guys enjoy this session.
Thanks, Brian. We always love joining our partners over here at Foundation and collaborating. And that's why we are talking to this team at Coryell today, because they are using both Foundation and Followup and we have a really strong integration that was built with the customer in mind. So I want to dig into that today, what it has provided for the team over at Coryell. Mark and Kelly, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know not everyone is comfortable with being on camera. We told them do not over prepare. We want this just to be a conversation. Like Brian said, put your questions in the chat and we'll get to those as well. But why don't you guys tell us a little bit more about your company? So how long have you guys been around for? Tell us who you serve, what markets, where you're located, those kind of things.
Yeah, Mark, if you don't mind, I'll take this one. Coryell Roofing was established in 2011. My brother, Chris Coryell, and his wife, Teresa Coryell. Teresa is the principal. Chris is the CEO. And we've been building, started in the residential market, slinging some shingles, and quickly evolved into commercial and have grown every year since. We 2 years ago were Duralast Contractor of the Year, 2024 Commercial Roofing Magazine Contractor of the Year. We've been just growing fast, big, faster than we want sometimes. And that might be a good segue into the problems we've seen and what we've had to do, the partnerships we found to make those growth pains less painful.
Absolutely. Now, I will stop and brag on you guys a little bit because we always like to tell people, especially in the roofing space, others as well, like award-winning contractors have chosen to work with us, you know, and we meet people often in that process of, wow, we're growing so fast, it's getting a little out of hand. We want to make sure that we can keep up with it. So tell me, what system were you using before you had a CRM, before you had your accounting buttoned up? Were you guys on spreadsheets? What did that look like?
Well, I'll talk about the CRM side. We've used a litany of them throughout the course of the years. Yeah, we've gone through quite a few, and I don't want to talk about anybody negatively, but we outgrew the majority of them, or they didn't meet all the needs. At the end of the day, though, what me and my sales team do really needs to talk to Mark and what his team does. And so, Mark, if you don't mind taking it from there, brother.
Yeah, what we've come up with, you know, a few of the other softwares didn't talk to foundations at all. We would have to work in one program, get everything set up there, do the exact same thing in step number 2, and then in another software to try and get everything to where we'd be able to look and follow through from start to finish. And then just the monotony of that, we decided, no, we just needed to do something else. So that's where Followup CRM came in with an integration within Foundations itself. So we're able to push the customers into Foundation, push the jobs into Foundation, and that just creates less of the doubling up and things like that we have had in the past.
Yeah, when you first start out, it might be like Kelly and Mark working knee to knee, and it's easy to pass things off. But as you get more locations, more customers, all of these things, it gets pretty messy pretty quick. So I heard you guys, again, referring to some of the things you've tried before, and we always hone in on that. And that's why, I don't know if you've officially given us this title, Brian, but we'd like to say we're like the chosen CRM of Foundation because we're specific for construction. We don't work with anyone else. We're on the commercial contractor side, whereas like other systems, your team might need a lot of training, a lot of customization. We like to, you know, that acronym KISS, like keep it simple, stupid. We really want to make sure that people are not going to get lost inside of the system. And to Mark's point, like the manual entry, man, it could drive you crazy. All of the admin work, the just doing things in 2 different places, and that leaves a lot of room for error. So which system did you guys roll out first? Were you Followup customers first, and then you got Foundation, or were you Foundation customers first who then plugged into Followup?
Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, we did them both at the same time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We went full ham, so.
Nothing like going big out of the gate.
Love it. We know that anytime you're like starting a new process, like the growing pains of it and really just getting in that headspace, like you have to build the momentum. So I love that you have a forward thinking in that sense. And that's why Brian and I would try to throw, business back and forth a lot and say like, hey, you can try to do one for a while, but based on what we're hearing from you, you might want to consider this too. I love that you guys were a really good example of that. So, what kind of things were falling between the cracks before?
I think it'd be easier to say what wasn't, but
Okay.
it is definitely the entry system. If you're asking three different people in three different departments to do the same thing exactly the same way, and the fact of the matter is, it's not going to happen. You can develop an SOP, you can train on it all you want to, but if you're asking three different people that are extremely busy to go do something, think about the time constraints too. I mean, we were triplicate entry. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And it was just slow, and it was littered with errors. And at the end of the day, I can have some errors on my side. I can give a client the wrong first name. I can do something along those lines. Mark can't on the accounting side.
Yeah, you got to keep the money right.
That's exactly right. So those type of errors magnified when it got to his side.
Mark, anything you want to add to that?
I think for the most time on my side, I would honestly get two separate jobs, and they're supposed to be the same. So I would have job costing going to job A, and then job costing going to job B. Well, after everything's said and done, I've got to reconcile everything. It doesn't line up. So we'd have to move buckets and everything from this side back to this side, close that job, and it just made it a nightmare. So we would have multiple double job entries and things like that.
That's
Brian,
easy.
is it a familiar story to you?
Oh, it is. It is. And whenever you have a situation like that, there's no easy way. Just take for example, basic detail, right? Accounts payable, right? Yes, you can go to job costing and you can move the expense from one job to another. So you can eventually get your job cost report tied out properly. But ultimately, when you get to the job that should have been the only job, right? Yeah, you'll see the expense as an entry coming from another project, but you don't have that same link back to the individual payables, to the images of the invoices that went to that original incorrect job. And there isn't a way to do that other than literally backing everything out of the system and re-entering it to the appropriate job in the first place. And that's not what these systems are designed to do. And so anytime you can shortcut those three people doing one task, even if you have one person doing that task, right? I mean, if I do something 3 times, I can guarantee you at least one of them, I'm going to do it differently.
I've heard that before where it's like, now that we have this system in place, it feels like we have another team member, but it's one who doesn't make mistakes, right? It's like we have this new robot on our team who makes sure that things are working behind the scenes to really smooth out those cracks that we were talking about before. So now tell us a little bit more about the process. How do things move along from sales to accounting? What does that look like for you guys?
Mark, you want to take the first one on this?
Okay. So originally so sales is going to go out, get the contract. We build the estimates, get everything sent out once approval. For my side, it's very easy. Sales will get the contract, send it over to me, and immediately we can start pulling in the brand new customer, filling out the budgets. We use Edge for that piece and set the budgets, set the job, set the PMs. And for me, I'm done at that point. So then we just start getting in the job costs, AP, ARs, and everything like that and moving forward. Now, Kelly's piece is a little more intricate, and he can go through that.
Yeah, Sarah. So obviously it's sales. We've got a big team. It's like herding cats on a daily basis, as you can imagine. So getting the guys to do the same things the same way, I'm sorry, men and women to do the same things the same way every time is tough. But obviously client setup is integral. So we utilize our territory managers to do those types of things. There's some consistency with that. Then it goes to an RSM, CSM, or CSR, depending on the level of the client, depending on the size of the project. The right team members are put in. All that data entry is entered into Followup. We go through the entire process. We also integrate with a photograph software that works with Followup as well, very seamlessly. So go to site, take the photos, make a report, pull it all back, set budgetary numbers, talk with the client, at which point in time you can do the reminders, all the touch points. I don't have to worry about guys forgetting, because you can set yourself reminders in there. And that's key. We're all running around like chickens with their heads cut off. So having those reminders really helps us move the projects forward quicker, stay in front of our client more often, and just touch base easier. So once the estimate's written, then we go present, and it's pretty simple after that. Presentation proposal gets turned into a contract, it gets signed, and then it goes to that gentleman, Mr. Mark Fleming.
Kelly,
so you guys make it sound easy. You guys make it sound easy because you've been doing this for a while, but I know that there's probably people listening who are like, okay, that would be room for breakthrough, right? Like if we change this one piece of the process, it would make their daily lives so much simpler. Brian, I didn't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, Kelly, I was just curious, are you getting any information from Edge? I know you guys mentioned that you're using Estimating Edge on the estimating side of the house. Are you taking any of that information from Edge over to Followup, or Followup over to Edge during this process on the sales and estimating side?
Yeah, it's both ways. We're creating a client in Followup, pushing it over to the Edge, creating the estimate in the Edge, then it pushes back over to Followup. Easy.
Right.
I mean,
and then
don't get me wrong, it isn't easy. I mean, you got to be a good estimate writer. You got to know what you're doing, and it takes a little while to get seamless with it. But once you have that training, and by the way, Sarah, I gotta say, Christine is unbelievable.
Yes.
She's amazing.
That's our director of customer success, and she takes care of the customer. Yes.
She's fantastic. She has helped us create some things where we saw some weaknesses. She's helped us create some custom sheets, some custom data fields and things along those lines. So she's just been fantastic. So, but yes, Brian, to answer your original question, it goes both ways very easily.
That's good. That's really good. A lot of times the estimating piece is kind of forgotten about in these conversations. We focus so much on the foundation follow-up integration, and as one of our other products, right, Estimating Edge, it's really important to be able to share the information between those two systems and get that budget over to foundation pretty easily.
Yes, so the foundation team has a huge suite of products, and I'm actually writing in a notebook right now that they sent me, and it's got like everything listed out from Edge, WorkMax, McCormick, HQ Suite, payroll construction, all of those good things that they have really thought about their customer base and what they need. And then obviously they work with us for the CRM side, and we've tried to make it easy on customers as well. So now getting into the technical side of it a little bit, we have an open API so that we can connect the tools that they use every day without having to go through a long development process. And to Kelly's point, we are very much ready out of the box for a team to start implementing right away. And then as we get to know you, because you have a specific onboarding process and customer success manager, if there's anything that you need additional training on, if you need custom dashboards built, all of those things, our team is so rich in knowledge because they work with lots of different industries, and they can see a problem and immediately know context because they've helped someone else with it last week, right? So I love that they always give me confidence when I have to loop them into a situation. I'm like, we can get you taken care of right away. Good stuff there. Okay, I don't think we mentioned that you guys are in 6 different states. So how do you break that down within Followup? Do you have certain permissions? Has that really scaled, or were you guys like that from the beginning of your use of the software?
Yeah, we were, Sarah, we were in the 6 states when we started using the software. As a matter of fact, we just opened up 3 more. So yeah, we're going into 9 now. I'm not too terribly worried about permissions, although they're there. We firmly believe that visibility by all. You know, I don't want people inside the company, especially sales guys, not being able to see something. We think we can learn from the person next to us. We
Yeah.
all work as a team, and if we don't, we've got a problem. So that's how we look at it at Coryell Roofing. We are integrated. We are one team, one fight. So yes, we do determine by state. We do have regions and territories, but visibility to all.
That's awesome. One of the updates that I know I was just learning more about within the Followup system was, instead of permissions, calling it teams. And the idea, again, people, if they want to, can view and learn from the knowledge inside the system, but also if they need to focus and not be distracted, they can be put on a specific team within inside Followup so that they know what their next thing to do is and they can stay on task. You mentioned some good things earlier that I jotted down really quickly. You were just talking about visibility again, and that leads to accountability. So as a leader, you're directing all of these salespeople, being able to know what's going on. You have that vision that you've cast for them, but then you're like, if I have to follow up with them about them following up with other people, is it really worth it? So automating those reminders, getting all of those good sequences set up. Anything else that maybe surprised you guys during the implementation process? You can pull that up from your memory.
Yeah, actually, yes, believe it or not, Sarah. So one of the great things, and once again, working with Christine was fantastic, and your entire team's been fantastic. But we are in 6 different states. Every proposal we give to a client, we want it to feel very local to them. So doing custom proposals to where everything from the edge comes over onto a custom proposal, whether it is service, whether it is sales, whether it's an estimate, whether it's emergency temporary services, et cetera, et cetera. All of it feels extremely welcome. Like we do the watermark for each state for that stage proposal. So that actually did surprise me that it's in there. You get to choose it, everything drops in perfectly. So we had to rewrite it a couple different times in different softwares to figure out, like, whether it's Word or PDF, to figure out what worked out best. But your team was amazing in helping us do that.
Man, that proposal generator can really make you so much more efficient. Think of, you don't expect your sales team to be designers. They're not going to be making graphics. How do you lay out the photos in here? Do I copy and paste? And there's room for, that was from the last quote, I forgot to update it. That proposal generator makes the entire business look more professional. And like you said, can still be customized for territory or state, or even if you're more of a conglomerate and you have different branches of your business. That is a good one that I love seeing teams use and get the most out of.
Sarah,
Mark, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, just one of the big things, what's key to us inside of Coryell Roofing, you touched on it, but I really want to drive it home, brand management. That's enormous. We have people there are people that are a lot smarter than me and Mark that are doing our brand managing. We have a certain look that we want. Your template, your proposal generator makes that happen, whereas a salesman would just be, hey, I'm going to write it on a napkin and get you to sign it and we're all done. We all know we're that way. So
true. Okay, you're speaking my language, because obviously I lead marketing here at Followup, and there's the constant tension there's a lot of different tension points, right? The main focus that we've been talking about today is the tension between accounting and sales and how we want to smooth that over. But anytime we can help with the tension between like marketing efforts and sales as well, because you got to bring the revenue in, but then you're doing this long-term play of, but how are we recognized? How do people feel about us? Do they tell other people about us? So I love that you brought that up. And we've been working in the background, a little bit of a teaser here, on more marketing functionality from Followup even, so that you can do more email sequences and things like that. Think of MailChimp and other tools that people have used before. So we're excited to roll that out in 2026. Mark, for your team, let's say you get a new person on your team, you're growing. How do you explain to them in the simplest way possible why you guys use Foundation and Followup?
I think the easiest way to explain that is we go back to our SOPs. So every department has made one for every individual in the company, any spot that we're going to fill someone in. And it goes through just the very basic steps for accounting, getting entered in as the employee, the benefits packages that we use HRHQ for that. Signing their documents, getting everything in, moving through that. And then we basically just give them the SOP and we're going to go down line by line and get them integrated. If it is a sales guy, then we get them in there with Kelly, who's probably already talked to him 15 different times. But at this point, we get them integrated there, have them shadow an employee, have them move through the entire process, probably 5 or 6 different times for a contract. And then they have that to look back on whenever it's their contract and they're working through that. So SOPs are the greatest thing that we've done as for our employees.
That's a real insider tip. That will take you to the next level as a company. And I agree. I've even been building those out as our Followup team grows. But I think those are the type of things that makes adoption rate so high as well. You'll hear all the time about companies that buy a software, and it's like there was one person who was so excited about it. They're like what we would call the champion, and then they just can't get the team buy-in. So yeah, you got to have leadership, but then how do you get like the people in the field to also believe in it? And I think your SOPs are definitely plugging that hole. Brian, do you have any more thoughts? I don't want to hog the whole conversation.
No, it's really interesting. Going back to something that Kelly had mentioned with, permissions, the roles, right? And it kind of goes into these standard operating procedures as well. In my consulting days, I spent many years, going out and working one-on-one with clients. And a lot of different customers, they have a very different view of that. They don't want to share information amongst everyone, right? A project manager can only access his or her project, right? And we can only see what's going on in that project. And I get it. Some people are concerned about security and, well, we don't want somebody seeing what somebody else is making and so on. But I really do love that perspective of, look, we're a team, and if we're not working together to ultimately move the company forward, we're gonna sit still, right? Having that visibility and even creating some natural competition. If I'm a project manager and I'm looking at someone else's job and I'm seeing, their margins are way higher than mine, I got to ask a question, right? I'm like, hey, am I getting the bogus jobs? Are you giving me, bad customers, or am I working for the wrong general, or do I really need to check myself and see if I'm just not, producing the way that I should be? And if I have that visibility, maybe I can go ask for help, right? I don't have to wait for somebody to come to me and say, hey, Brian, man, you're just not running your jobs well, right? We're going to get you hooked up with somebody. No, I can say, hey, apparently I'm not doing as well as Kelly is. How do I improve? I think it's a great concept, and I know there's a fine balance, and every company has to have their own, but I think it's really, really important. I think it's a great perspective. Yeah, that's one of them for sure.
You said a lot of good things there too, Brian. I think of visibility in two different ways. So the first one, like peer-to-peer, yeah, the competition's obviously motivating. Also, the data that you get from this integration can show you who your top performers are. And that's when, back to Mark's point, maybe you can create these SOPs, be like, this is the reason they're winning. Let's make this standard, have a more unified system, again, strengthening your brand as well. So I love that you can pull that out. And then another piece of visibility is going to be forecasting. So when you don't have the double entry anymore, and I have dealt with this in other CRMs in past lives, where it's like, oh, this one is called ABC Corp and this one's ABC Co. And we thought we had 60 coming in from here and 60 coming in from there, but really they're one in the same. So you're not getting this false inflation. You have a more clear forecast going into your next quarter or your next year. And it brings me back to like what our tagline is, the whole like bid less, win more, like being able to focus in. We hear a lot of times where companies will say like, oh, every year we bid this same thing over and over again, and our team puts together, and it's like, okay, well, one person in the company knows that, but you've got these new sales guys that go after it every year. If they had a central database where they could say like, we never win there, it would be more worth our time to focus over here instead. Then you're making the most of your team's efforts, and that's gonna, lead to less frustration as well, not just having the book straight, but them feeling like they're making the progress. Okay, do we have any questions that we want to bump to the group? I could just keep rolling. You guys really know it well. You're obviously using it. So you hit on most of the points that I was hoping to pull out of you. It wasn't that hard.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad. And Mark, you mentioned HRHQ. Again, another foundation product that helps our foundation users just take advantage of additional features and functions that streamline their business. So thanks for bringing that up. And it goes to make the point about technology and how leveraging the proper tools that can communicate with each other can just streamline your entire process.
Have you guys had the opportunity to answer any questions from others in the industry? Has anyone been like, what do you guys use? How do you solve this problem? Has it come up at all?
Sarah, no,
Actually,
well, unfortunately, typically when we get asked questions, it's more about what we're doing in the field, not how we're managing it back in the office. That's probably the wrong question. They're probably not managing well back in the office, therefore the field isn't working right. But you never get to the right questions. So
I think,
no, we really
that's
don't
a good point. You can focus on the field more when the office is taken care of, right? Because hopefully that would be the bigger team is the field, and you can kind of streamline the office. That's great to hear. And some history on Followup. We were founded by a roofing company founder as well, Greg Wallach over at Best Roofing down there in South Florida. He had gone to a Salesforce conference and seen what they were doing and said, we need something like that, but not all of that. Like, that's not going to work for roofing. And so he started building it for his employees to use. And then the reason I asked the question is because his experience was he had other guys in the industry say, what are you doing over there? And so we started white labeling and became what is now Followup CRM. So we love all of our roofers. Of course, we work in different verticals as well.
Sarah, I don't know if you know this, and I don't know if we've talked about this, but how we got introduced to Followup is because Chris and Greg Wallach met at Best of Success and started talking. That's how we ended up on Followup to begin with.
That's awesome. I always love those tidbits.
How did you end up on Foundation, Kelly?
Got to ask Mark that one.
Mark.
So repeat the question exactly.
how we just heard from Kelly how you guys ended up on Followup through Best of Success. How did you end up with Foundation?
Well, so Foundation was actually something that we have an outside CFO, and we were looking for something to move from QuickBooks into the next step. We looked at 2 or 3 different ones, and she kind of leaned us to this. Well, I've actually had experience with Foundation in the past, so it just worked out great. I already knew most of the systems, and then I brought another girl in here who also had Foundation experience. So it just fit with our company, the size, and obviously it's directed for construction companies, and we just went with it. She suggested it. Everybody else agreed with it. I agreed with it. So we just ran with it, and it's a great system. It's not the fanciest system, but it's everything that you need, and the other stuff you don't really care, you don't want.
Functionality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting the job done.
It's interesting because, you know, in both of these cases, it is networking and word of mouth over marketing.
As a marketer, that's my favorite type of marketing. I don't want to write the pretty words all day and put them up on a website. Instead, I just want to take a quote that you said and attribute it to you and be like, he's going to say it better any day. And that's, again, here why, as excited as I am, I try to bite my tongue a little bit and not put words in your mouth and let you guys fill in your own experiences here as you keep going. Something you mentioned earlier too that was good is that it's not a one-way system. It's not necessarily like, oh, you just put it into Followup and it goes to Foundation. The technical term for it is like a read write, but it's a push and pull. Think of it that way. So that they're always syncing, they're always making sure that things are aligned and clean from a data perspective.
Yep, absolutely. So we're about 20 till the hour, and it's been a great conversation, I think. Do you guys have anything else to add? Do we want to jump into some of the questions from our attendees?
Brian, real quick, and Sarah, you just said push and pull, and I believe in that. And Company Cam it's also completely functional with Company Cam, and that was awesome.
Yes.
All of our guys still love it because Company Cam is their favorite tool, and then it just comes in seamlessly. There's a lot of really, really nice aspects to this.
So
I figured that's who you were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm.
That's the application you were talking about for photographs, Company Cam. So you just addressed 2 of the questions that were on our list of questions from the audience. Company Cam.
Yes. So again, the people in the field can use their phone and take the image, and then when you use the proposal generator inside of Followup, that image will be imported in there. So you can say, we think you need, this many shingles for X reason, see damage applied. And it helps you guys, obviously, from an insurance standpoint. There's lots of that you deal with in your business and having all of that documentation. Let's see here. I see a question from Kayla in the chat. How would a business separate into 2 separate financial entities be accommodated? So yes, we can do that inside of, I can speak to the Followup side, and Brian, maybe you can jump in on the Foundation side, but we definitely have use cases with that. We can handle it by team or permission levels. And you mentioned earlier, Mark, that you guys were coming off of QuickBooks. That's another integration that we have so that you lose all your historical data. You can plug it in, or if you have certain offices that are still on QuickBooks and you want to start, let's say, with 5 Followup users and then add more as you go. So Brian, anything that you would mention on that front?
Yeah, let's pause for just a second for my team sitting back in the fishbowl managing all of this. I don't know if you want to get that poll out for our attendees to jump into while we're discussing some of these questions. but you can go ahead and push that up there. There we go. Perfect. So yeah, how do we handle businesses that are separated into two separate financial entities? So if you're using Foundation, those are going to be set up as completely separate databases to run your financials, obviously. So if you have separate EINs, you're going to have two different companies set up within Foundation, two separate databases. So Sarah, maybe you can help me out here, because I am not certain on how you guys manage an integration with two separate entities within Foundation.
Yes, I know that we can do it, and it really depends on the specific use case. Sometimes it's just like an easy toggle solution. It would depend, again, are they geographically different or are they service different? Let's say one is more HVAC, one is more roofing. There's all these different circumstances. So we do have the capability.
So you can link.
And then
you can link one
put the name.
follow-up. One instance of follow-up to multiple instances of Foundation based on a set criteria. Great.
Yes, that is correct. And then we would work with you to figure out what that set criteria is. That's part of the onboarding integration process.
Fantastic.
And I just put the name because I know that it's a little different, or it got lost in multiple people talking inside of the chat. Company Cam is what we were talking about earlier. That's one solution for gathering images in the field.
Cool. Great. Another question has come in from Nick. How does Coryell Roofing assign quote numbers and job numbers when a new one is requested? Is this done within Followup?
Mark, I'll handle this one. I'm on my side anyway. As far as a job number, Mark can answer that one. It's pretty easy, Nick. We do all the estimating inside of the Edge. The Edge assigns the number and then it pulls into Followup. And so if you are anything like we are, there's 6 to 7 or 8 renditions on every one estimate, whether they need the date redone because they didn't make a decision in time, or they forgot to ask for this part, or they're adding something on. There's always something you have to change. Anyway, it automatically updates in the Edge. And then when you pull it back over to Followup, it's updated in there in your cache as well.
Sure. And now inside Foundation, for our piece, we direct it based upon each individual state. So TX, and then we work through the job number, year, and so forth. That is not something that can auto-populate inside Followup. That is something that we had to create a custom field so we can push that into Followup. That gives it the correct job number inside Foundation that we can push and create the job inside Foundation. So unfortunately, no, that one didn't work out for us, but we've called a end around on that one and just plugged it.
Great. That's actually a really good solution. We have a lot of capabilities in Foundation for, sorting and reporting and so on. And sometimes it just comes down to, we need specific information on our job number. And, it's great that you guys were able to find a solution that works for you, for sure. Any other questions out there? You guys are all pretty quiet. There's 34 of you sitting out there. Somebody's got to have a question. And if not, we did a really, really good job.
Brian, that's what I'm thinking. We just did an exceptional job explaining everything.
I wholeheartedly agree. Wholeheartedly.
And I'll also say, go ahead and ask the question, because there's probably somebody else who's going to watch the recording later and they don't have the opportunity. So ask it for them, preemptively, even if you're like, I think I know the answer, or I don't want to sound some type of way, put it out there. Somebody will benefit from it.
We don't even have to mention your name. Here we go. Tom is asking about appointment scheduling. I don't know what the actual question is. It just says appointment scheduling. So I know this is not something that we handle on the foundation side. Is this something that is handled on the follow-up side?
Yeah, on follow-up, and again, Kelly, you tell me specifically how you're using it because everybody does it a little bit differently. But as part of your project, you could have specific meetings marked or emails, you have history of your whole communication, all those things.
Yeah, you have the calendar in there. You can do things along those lines as far as, and I'm sorry, Tom, I'm not sure if exactly where you're driving towards this, but it's not like you have a Calendarly where someone can choose a time for you, but we're typically in the sales side going out and asking our clients for an appointment, not the other way around. So it's very, very easy to do. If you have the conversation with your client, you go put it into follow-up. Yes, you'll get the reminder. You can email outside of follow-up. As a matter of fact, while I'm sitting here, I've got no less than 3 reminders from follow-up when I'm tagged in about 4 other emails in here of estimates coming through that are going out into the field. They're not necessarily coming to me, but I'm just have visibility of it. So all that functionality is there.
Another question came in here about the suitability of follow-up for small businesses. So I know that's very subjective in terms of what defines a small business. You know, in terms of foundation, right? We're generally looking at our typical client is somewhere between $10 and $50 million a year. So what size customer, whether that's from a revenue perspective, a job number perspective, and again, whether it's service jobs or large contract jobs, it's very, very gray. But Sarah, maybe you can speak to follow-up and how you address needs for multiple size companies.
I would agree that it is gray. We mostly work with those on the commercial side of things, and we are looking for 5 users to start as a minimum, usually is what we do. And then I was pulling up that revenue number right now as we are speaking. We usually look for the 15 million to 500 million in revenue points. And when I say 5 members, we're looking for usually your sales team is at least 5 members large. And then if you have previously been on spreadsheets or generic, outdated, complicated CRMs, that's really the sweet spot of where we can make your life so much easier.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, it never hurts to ask the question, to see the product. You know, if I've got 3 sales reps, you know, depending on how I feel you're going to serve my company and what it's going to do to you know, aid my growth, maybe it is worth investing in early as opposed to waiting longer, right? I mean, you establish those systems, and now anybody else you're bringing on board, we don't have to go back and make them learn new systems and new processes because it was here all the time. I'm bringing in my new sales reps. As I grow, the process is already established. I think that it's certainly, you know, valuable. And, you know, looking doesn't mean buying. Unless you're looking
for sure. And I will say that something I love about our team is in the friendliest way possible, they definitely lead with a disqualification process. So they think through, okay, if this is true or this, then let me point you a different direction, okay? Because we don't want to create problems for our customer success team or our onboarding team. Our sales team wants everyone at follow-up to jive well, and that means that sales has set you up for success where this customer is going to want to renew year after year, and they're going to give positive feedback to us about where the product should be going and what other functionality they want to see. So just know that our team is really good about that. They don't want to waste anyone's time, not their own, not yours. And we understand that there's different levels of decision makers, whether it's an owner, a lead estimator, you kind of have the admin side as well that's going to be in charge of implementation. So we're happy to have those conversations with whoever we need to.
Great. Another question, got to tread lightly here. Were there any pain points that you experienced during the implementation process that you would like to pass along? No, our implementation teams are 100% perfect. Nobody ever struggles.
Hey, this is what we learned from Brian. It's where we misstep and we can all just like call it out and own it. That makes us better. So please feel free to share, Kelly or Mark, if there was anything that you were like, we had to guide the process a little bit.
So I'll answer this, and it's Lori. Lori, it's all painful. It's all painful putting a new software. There's no getting around that. I mean, the fact of the matter is you're taking your sales team or your accounting team away from what they're doing on a daily basis of running the company, making sure it's profitable, making sure we're in front of clients, we're doing trainings and things like that. But it is an investment in your future. So dive in deep. And as we like to say around Coryell Roofing, ETS, embrace the suck. You're eventually going to get through it and you'll be better for it. We had to learn a couple different things, especially on the proposal side, putting it in the wrong software, then going back and regenerating 16 to 18 of them in the right software. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and there were definitely some frowns and some fists on desks and things like that. Here's what I can tell you: the team at Followup, and I'm sure Mark will say the same thing about Foundation. They've been there every step of the way. If they make a mistake, they own it and they help you fix it.
I'll chime in on
love all of that.
And this is just, again, from my experience working out in the consulting realm, right? Some of the best implementations that I've worked through with clients involved potentially an outside third party who isn't involved in the day-to-day operations, who has time to commit to the proper or more appropriate implementation processes, right? Maybe you're restructuring your ledger. If you're coming from a more simple system like QuickBooks, right? You may not be capturing things in your financials the way that Foundation is designed to handle things. Like, for example, capturing indirect expenses that are related to projects, but not specifically to a project, right? Capturing that bucket of costs in your financials so that not only can you report that particular segment of your business, but also analyze it on an ongoing basis for overhead allocation. How do we bid our projects and do the appropriate markups to cover those hidden costs that we may not have a handle on, right? Just things like that. I've worked with outside CPA firms. I've worked out with other, let's call them consultants that do that that's all they focus on is accounting system transitions. It's always good to have that help because your implementation team with either software package may not always be readily available outside of your training sessions, right? When you have someone in your organization, even if it's temporarily, that's dedicated just to these transitions, it can be very, very, very helpful. Now, finding a good person is another question, but your CPA firm may be a good resource for that sort of talent.
So much good stuff there. Much good stuff there. Yes, I would say there's a lot of like, let's get you moving, like I said, out of the box, and then let's find what could be smoothed over. And to the point of like frustration and fist on the desk, over here at Followup, we always say like anything we're doing is worth doing well. So we give it our all, and it's, fail fast, get up again, and figure it out.
Nice. There's another question about how Followup would compare to Buildertrend, both functionally and from a cost perspective. That might be better suited towards one of your sales team members, but if you have any input there, Sarah?
Yeah, so we don't see Buildertrend come up a lot in conversations when we have either an internal team or a consultant come to us and tell us like, hey, I'm considering 3 different systems. We're not usually neck and neck with them. I know that we are intentionally on the lower end price wise than a lot of these. I don't have specific Buildertrend information in front of me, but again, from a I have insights into the sales process because I create a lot of their enablement materials. So we have quick sheets that compare follow-up to a lot of the major systems so that we can say, if you're looking for this, go with them. If you're looking for that, go with us. So yes, would love to have further conversation about that and really dig into what your needs are.
Cool. Thank you, Sarah. One last question, as far as I can see on our list here. Can you use follow-up for the purchase side with reminders for deliveries and obtaining pick tickets from guys in the field?
I don't believe that's a use case that we serve. Mark or Kelly, is that anything that you guys have used follow-up for? It's a little more project management than sales focused, it sounds like.
The one thing about Company Cam, and hopefully this answers her, with Company Cam, we do have the pick tickets and things like that that our superintendents will have. And it's just a quick way to get it back into the accounting hands and send it in. So then we can go against the budgets and the POs that were created and mark them off. It's not something that we do inside follow-up, but it's more of a Company Cam item.
Interesting.
Okay, good to know that we have, that integration. Again, we take a lot of customer feedback, and when there's enough of a need, we build something out, but we don't want to get so big and confusing and trying to do so many different things that it's not actually helpful for most of our contractors.
Yeah, and I know there are procurement platforms out there. We partner with several, much like Follow-Up, but that are specifically for the procurement of materials, whether that be initiated out in the field or within the office, et cetera, that will track the orders and the receipts and the billing and push those billings right back into Foundation. So depending on the functionality you're looking for and how robust you need that to be, that's something that you might want to consider. Cool. I don't see any other questions that have come into the chat, and we're approaching time, 11:57 Eastern. I think we can safely call it a day. So Kelly, Mark, Sarah, I want to thank you all for your time this morning and for the great conversation. Again, want to give some props to our team here behind the glass, managing the setup and organization of this. This is not possible without them, because I know I certainly would fail miserably at doing all of that. So yeah, thank you all. To our attendees, thank you for joining us yet again on another educational webinar, and stay tuned for the next one that comes out, and we'll see you all then.
Yes, appreciate you all. Bye.
Yep. Take care, guys. Thank you.